The Haunted Camera by Lily Bora. When I inherited my great-grandfather's vintage camera, I never expected it to change my life in such a chilling and inexplicable way. The camera, a beautiful antique piece, exuded an aura of history and mystery that drew me in. Little did I know the eerie secrets it held within its lenses. I began to experiment with the camera, fascinated by its old-school mechanics and the idea of capturing moments on film. But soon, I started to notice peculiar anomalies in the developed pictures. At first, it was subtle. Shadowy figures in the background, faces partially obscured, and strange orbs of light. I attributed it to aging equipment, assuming that it was just wear and tear affecting the film. However, as I delved deeper, the anomalies became more pronounced. In each photo, the figures seemed to draw nearer, their faces contorted in agony and despair. I felt a growing sense of unease, as if something sinister lurked within the confines of the camera. One evening, as I focused on taking a portrait of my living room, a bone-chilling scream echoed through my house. It felt as if it came from within the camera itself. I dropped it in shock, the sound still reverberating in my ears. Shaken, I cautiously picked it up, checking the image I had captured. The photo showed a scene straight out of a nightmare. In the background stood a twisted, shadowy figure, its elongated fingers reaching toward me. Its face was a grotesque mask of agony, and its eyes seemed to bore into my very soul. I felt a cold sweat breaking across my brow as I realized this figure was not there when I took the photo. Terrified, I decided to confide in a friend who was knowledgeable about the occult. They suggested that the camera might be a vessel for capturing spirits or entities from another realm. My friend warned me to stop using it, but curiosity and strange fascination with the supernatural drove me to continue. With every picture I took, the haunted figures appeared closer, their presence growing more menacing. It was as if they were trying to breach the barrier between their world and mine. My nights became restless, plagued by nightmares and a constant feeling of being watched. The turning point came when, in a moment of desperation, I captured a picture of my own reflection. To my horror, standing just behind me in the image was one of the shadowy figures, its hand almost touching my shoulder. Fearing for my safety, I resolved to destroy the camera. But as I raised a hammer to shatter it, an otherworldly shriek pierced the air, sending shivers down my spine. In a panic, I threw the camera into a bag, and despite the sounds of protest emanating from it, I hurled it into the river. Since then, the haunting images have ceased, but a lingering dread remains. I often wonder if the camera still haunts the depths of that river, or if it found its way back into our world, carrying with it the tormented souls it captured. As a word of caution, I urge you, dear reader, should you come across a mysterious antique camera, steer clear of its eerie powers, lest it drags you into a world of terror and despair. My Family Hates the Food I Make by Feeling Sky 7775. I have been a chef for 15 years. 15 years! You would think my family would adore my intricate dinners. They used to, but now they barely touch it. It only takes them a few bites before they turn their noses and push it away. They've even asked my wife to start making more dinners. I've tried my best to add a greater assortment of flavors. Yesterday was curry chicken with saffron rice. My daughter Claire despised it. The day before, I made herbed lamb with a red wine glaze. Lisa, my wife, took one bite and spit it out. Kyle, my son, wouldn't even touch the Tuscan chicken risotto I slaved over last week. I'm so desperate for them to eat my food again. But the problem is, they always tell me it's far too sweet. I guess I have to start putting a little less antifreeze in it. Stalker by Ash. I don't have much time. It's following me. I'm posting this for everyone's benefit, I've lived in London for about a year after moving from the States, and I thought I should leave my life behind. My wife divorced me, and we only have one child who's barely even a year old, so I decided to leave all of that behind. The house that I moved into was a rather old Victorian-style home, with 2 stories, 1 kitchen, 1 bedroom, and 2 bathrooms, and it was situated just outside of Cambridge. My life was normal. I went to work, had one-man dinners, and slept in on Sundays. I don't know what I did to deserve this. Around 2 weeks ago, I noticed that I had a strange sense of paranoia whenever I used to walk in my house or down the street towards a cafe to get coffee. I ignored it and figured it as some kind of homesickness. If I had to describe the feeling, it would be like the feeling you get when you think someone's eyeing you in the street, or if you see someone out of the corner of your eye. That wasn't the worst of it. The second week in, it got worse. It got to the point where I would see shadows moving underneath my bedroom door or finding objects in my room rearranged or being moved in different places. I went to the police one time, trying to get them to file a report on my situation, but they told me I was probably just paranoid. I wasn't. I knew there was someone else in my home, someone that watched me. Only recently did I ever experience the worst of the worst. I arrived home, setting my keys down before I turned and saw a figure standing in the hallway to my kitchen. Naturally, I got spooked as I saw it, but it disappeared in almost an instant. The occurrences got more and more frequent after that, and I don't mean in days or weeks. When I was changing in my room, I could make out a face staring at me as I slid on my trousers. When I was eating, I could faintly see a head peeking around the corner to stare at me. I'm writing this in my bedroom. I know it's coming. I can hear it. I've tried to ignore it, but it only gets worse. I fear for my life. I don't know what I did to deserve this. Maybe it was leaving my only child to grow up without a father. I don't want to die. Help me.